Welcome to the Especially for Athletes podcast, where we explore essential principles that empower athletes to learn life's most valuable lessons through sports.
Everybody, thank you for joining us. I'm Dustin Smith here with Shab Martin and our guest, Cole Fotheringham. We're thankful to have you, Cole, on our podcast, the Especially for Athletes podcast today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
So, Cole, just a quick background on you. You grew up in California, graduated high school, around 18? Is that right? 2018 or so?
2016 from San Quentin High School.
2016, okay.
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah.
Went and played football at the University of Utah. Had a little two-year stint in between there in Nicaragua as a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ. When you came home, you played tight end. And then ended up getting picked up, played 1 season or 2 seasons with the Raiders.
3 years with the Raiders, and then some injuries with Denver, and then most recently New England.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. So tell us a little bit. We'll kind of work backwards. We'll start with where you're at now, and then we'll just kind of work back into your college and high school days. So tell us what you're doing now and what you hurt yourself, explain the injury, and then what's kind of, what's your status currently.
Okay, yeah. So most recently, 2 seasons ago, I got released from the Raiders right around Christmas. So towards the end of the season, and hadn't heard a whole lot. I got invited to a rookie mini camp, which, if you're going into your 3rd year and you're still going to rookie mini camps, it's not the most exciting or flattering, sexy thing that you can do. But, I tried to change my perception and just attack it and see it as an opportunity, and signed to Denver after the 2-day tryout. After about 3 or 4 weeks, I hurt my hamstring in the OTAs and got a medical exemption, or basically got cut, but with a injury settlement that was kind of a crappy deal because you're only getting OTA pays. So then kept training, went to New England about a week into training camp. They had somebody go down, and then had a really good training camp. I was really happy with how it went and how I played. Thought I left everything out there and competed and did as best as I could, but the result isn't always in our control. So just tried to, attack the process and do everything that was in my power to put myself in the situation I wanted to be in, but ultimately didn't go how I wanted and didn't hear much for the rest of the season. And so I'm kind of in the same boat now. When I met you, Dustin, Jaron and I were kind of in the same position. So all year training with Jaron and a couple other guys down at BYU, just trying to stay ready. And if that call happened, we would have been, in a good spot and feeling confident and ready to go. So, kind of in a similar spot now, trying to, kind of get my mind in a clear space, and we'll see what happens. I'm hopeful, but also realistic after a year of not hearing much. Sometimes the writing's on the wall and you just got to kind of prepare for what's next, but still holding on hope to maybe hear something by the end of this OTA phase this year. So yeah, kind of in that limbo, just going with the flow and living in the wind kind of right now.
Yeah.
There are many of us who never even got in the flow. So that, that's pretty cool to even be in the flow, right? But hey, Justin, can I fire a question real quick just from something you said there? One of our principles is compete without contempt, Cole, and you just said something that we often teach high school kids, right? That some of these kids that they're playing against from the rival high school that they're seeing at local McDonald's and staring each other down are going to be their college teammate, right? And they're working together. And if they were living in the same boundaries, they'd be best friends. And here you are, this Utah Ute down at BYU, working out with the quarterback that used to play against you in one of the most heated rivalries. What would you say to high school kids, to parents about competing? Because I'm sure when you were at the U, you just wanted to dominate BYU as much or more than anybody, it's that rivalry game. But here you are, friends with and working out with the quarterback of that team in their facility. What would you tell people about the right way to compete?
There's a Phil Jackson quote about competing and your competitor. And it kind of shifted my paradigm, my perception of this whole thing. And it's like, your competition is just your partner in the dance. That's not to say like you're going to take it easy on anybody, but it's really you against you. And when your competition is competing at their best, they're bringing out the best in you as well. So yeah, I definitely have fallen victim and been in that mode of like trying to puff your chest out and kind of like in my ego, trying to dominate or, assert even within my own teammates, because there's lots of competition with each position in each group, but also against the people you're going up against. But I found that the more I just focus on me and trying to play my best, regardless of who I'm playing or who I'm competing against, that's always been the most conducive to the best results. I don't know if that answers your questions.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Well, we talk a lot about what we call the Sportlight, and especially for athletes and these young kids. I mean, you coming out and leaving high school in 2016, social media was definitely a thing then. It's not what it is now. I don't think TikTok was probably after that. I don't think TikTok, maybe it was around, but everybody has it now. And so the Sportlight, you're coming out of California. You're obviously a good high school player in California, and I don't know, what schools were recruiting you, but you commit and go and play at the University of Utah and end up back in California playing in the Rose Bowl, which is one of the biggest. I mean, they call it the granddaddy of them all. It's such a big, important kind of staple in American history and cultures, the Rose Bowl, the Super Bowl. But when it comes to college football, the Rose Bowl's right there, and you're playing in it in California. Obviously, the Sportlight was bright in your life. People knew who you were. I assume people in your hometown were very aware of the success you were having. Up at the U. Talk a little bit, if you wouldn't mind. Did you feel any pressure as that light got brighter and you became more and more recognized? Did you feel any more pressure to have to perform? Did that affect you at all? Have you had teammates who the pressure of being whatever they've been broadcast in the media or broadcasted themselves, marketed themselves on social media, add pressure and end up being, too much for guys? Was that a thing for you, or have you seen that in any teammates?
Yeah. For me, it was uncomfortable personally, just because not that I like want to shy away from the spotlight, but I'm not necessarily seeking it. It's not something that I value or feel a need to like put myself out there to be seen. It is validating when you do hear positive feedback from people within your community, coaches and players. Like, that does feel good. But like growing up, I didn't have any social media or Instagram or anything. Just never really felt called to it or a need to put myself out there like that. I ended up getting one kind of later in college, just because the NIL, everyone was like, you need to get this. This is going to be, you have to create your brand. And still, I don't really post, or, it's just not the most natural thing for me. So sometimes I think it would probably be better for me to use that spotlight in a way that's more conducive to sharing, what I think and feel and how to, spread love and positivity. But I try to do that more in the day-to-day interactions with people and teammates. I definitely have seen that the pressure can get to people. I think we see it all the time in news. Unfortunately, they like to harp on, the negative, and those are the big stories that get reported on. But yeah, there certainly is an element of pressure, especially as you keep elevating and progressing into different levels of competition. Like, that pressure is real, and there's ways to deal with it and to try and regulate yourself and keep yourself grounded. But ultimately it's a lot to handle. I feel like I did pretty well, and I'm super grateful for all the experiences that I've had through the triumphs and the failures and the lessons learned. Like, I feel like football is just conducive to teaching life lessons that go way beyond football.
Yeah.
And so I try to have that perspective of, what can I learn from this experience and how can I learn and grow as a result of it?
Yeah. That's good. Shad, you were from California as well. You guys in California, when you come back, you go and play out of state like both of you did. When you come back to California to play in something like a Rose Bowl, I assume that's a really big deal for people in California. If you come back and play in the Rose Bowl, it's probably something that the local people are interested in watching. Would that be something, Shad, that when Cole came back to play in that game, Cole, did you notice or feel, being that it was in California, did you feel an extra? I'm sure there was an extra excitement, which also can be energy, right? It can,
for sure,
it can fuel you.
I'll share a story.
Yeah, please
feel
do.
about me. This was definitely more prevalent because Pac-12, we played a lot of games in California between UCLA and USC, and then even some games preseason. My first time, freshman year, playing UCLA, I think it was our first game in California ever, and there was definitely that excitement, and energy. I had people at the game that were from my hometown, and I remember we had this trick play. They did a little sweep to Britt, and Britt threw it up to me in the end zone, and I went up and made a great catch over a cornerback, and I got up and started taunting this kid. That's so not me, or I don't even know where it came from, but there is that element of that excitement of coming back to your hometown and then playing well. Yeah, it's just a funny story that I was reminded of. I haven't thought about that in a long time.
Yeah. Well,
we all have those moments, don't we?
Yeah, for sure.
One time I was playing baseball at Cal State LA, and there were these girl basketball players that were, just we became friends with because we all lived there in the sports dorms there at Cal State LA, and one of them was like, "Did any of you play basketball in high school?" And I was like, "Yeah, I played basketball in high school." And my coach gave us this highlight tape for a gift. And so I got out this highlight tape to show. And there was this one game where it was just the dynamics. It was our rival, crosstown rival, and some things that happened the game before. Anyway, I hit a few shots, and I'm thinking these girls are going to think Shad can ball,
For sure.
And then I'm turning to their bench, and I'm yelling stuff at their bench, and they're like, "Wow, we didn't see that in you." And in my mind, I was thinking, I didn't even remember that happened. I'm glad that tape doesn't still exist. I could make a video on what it looks like to not compete without contempt and to be an idiot,
Yeah. So, we've all fallen victim to that at some point, naturally.
Yeah.
Cole, what have you noticed either in your own, you don't have to get, if this is too personal, I understand, but what have you noticed in the world of mental health and negative mental health with athletes, either teammates or just people or played against? And is that something that we need to be working with young junior high and high school athletes on how to manage? Did you see that much in college or in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, I would say more in the NFL. I saw people that had to take breaks from football because it was too much. I think that it stems, this is my personal opinion, that especially now today, it's really easy for parents, and this happened to me too, to kind of victimize their kids and really enable that. For example, all the transferring, if something's not going their way, it's really easy to just kind of give them an out and be like, okay, well, we'll just go somewhere else. Not to say that that's not always the right move for the player or the kid, but I think that there is some element of, working through some adversity. And on the other side of that, it's really, I don't know, it pays off to have to go through some hard things. It's not always going to be, cake and ice cream in an easy way. Because I had, for example, in my high school, Sam Darnold was the year ahead of me. And I was a quarterback in my grade, but it would have been really easy for me to just transfer to another school. My dad had even suggested that at one point, but it's like, no, I think I'll just stick this through. And it's like, okay, I made the switch to tight end and then had a great career playing tight end. So it's like, I don't know, sometimes the easiest way isn't the best way, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But then there's cases where it works out great for kids. Like it's a feel thing. Every situation is so different. But I think there is an element of this like enabling and victimization where the kids don't really have to go through any adversity.
Yeah.
That might be an unpopular opinion.
No, I think I think it's more popular. I think you're right in saying that sometimes it can be good for everybody, but I think that everybody thinks they're the sometime, right? Everybody thinks theirs is the reason that, well, this is good for everybody. And sometimes it absolutely is exactly what you said. We just don't want to call it what it is, but it's just running from difficulty. And
Mm-hmm.
I heard it said somewhere, you guys, I'm probably slaughtering the quote, but that all of our real successes are on the other side of hard.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you got to get through hard. And then the other side of that is where you have success. And so if the kids never have a chance to have to do that or learn that they can do that, then, like you said, the answer is always greener pasture somewhere else. We're just running from problems all the time. Well, you can see how once they take on adult responsibilities, you can't just run from your problems. You can't just not go to work or just leave your family. Right. So yeah, that's interesting. So let's talk about resiliency. And Shad, if you have anything, fire off here, but resiliency, when you got hurt, talk to us about what you learned about being resilient or what you learned about yourself and resiliency you make it to the NFL, which is so rare and obviously a dream come true for you. And then you randomly get hurt and you've been fighting ever since then. So obviously every time you get up and go to the gym and go work out, you're practicing resiliency. But what did you find in yourself having to fight back from being hurt? I'm guessing you had to dig deep.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like the initial reaction is just anger and frustration. Like, why is my body not responding in this moment? Like I've been working so hard and then I get to it. And then it's just like this huge roller coaster of emotions of like elation to making the team after a workout or a tryout. And then getting released after an injury where it's like, it wasn't even a performance-based thing. It's just like, I'm not available. And that's what you learn in the NFL, especially when nothing is set in stone. Like you're battling every day, especially as kind of a lower tier or a fringe guy. It's like your availability is super important. And so I'd had a hamstring injury after my second game being active and elevated. And then the same injury happened again in Denver. But one thing that I learned, and this was, this is something that I'd read in a book called Inner Excellence, and I would really recommend it to any young athlete. They talk a lot about injuries and kind of the subconscious element of injuries and how a lot of times your body's trying to protect yourself from experiencing a negative emotion. So like I put a correlation together of injuries were happening after I had made a mistake, a critical error in a play. And so this is kind of, and maybe it's kind of woo woo or out there, but I think that there is some element of like, if you dig deep and try and find the reasons behind certain, not to say that every injury has an underlying message or meaning, but I took it as an opportunity to try and better myself and up my mental strength of like, just because I make a mistake, everything, that doesn't mean the world's falling apart. I don't need to run away from that negative emotion of feeling failure or fearing failure. Like I can face that head on. And I was really happy when I went to New England and had another opportunity and finally felt like I was playing free and without fear. And when I did make mistakes, like I shook it off super fast and just focused on the next play without griping too much on what had happened. So yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents on injuries. I would really recommend Inner Excellence. My brother Luke had recommended it to me because he had read this thing about injuries, and my ego was like, no, like that's not true. Like there's no correlation between like what I'm thinking and feeling and the injuries. Like it just happened. It's by chance. But after I read it, I had a really big realization that, wow, there's some truth to that. I can take this and learn from it. Yeah.
It's interesting. I was reading over your story and you just added a little bit to it. But so growing up, it sounds like you played quarterback. You're this 6'4" quarterback behind, you said Sam Darnold. Who is it? San Clemente?
Yeah, he was the year ahead of me. And then we had a quarterback named Jack Sears who also went to USC, and he was a great athlete player, and he was a year behind me. So like, yeah, there was a lot of good quarterbacks coming out of that time.
Yeah. So you grow up being a quarterback, you need to switch and play tight end, then you go to Utah, and then you get drafted, and then you get relegated to the practice squad, and you do all that work, and it sounds like it was December 24th, 2004, or 2022 or 3. Anyway, but that's when you're elevated to the roster against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, first game.
I'm wondering what that felt like. I mean, you had played in the Rose Bowl, you had played at Utah, which has this incredible environment, but your whole time growing up, I'm sure your dream was the NFL, and you've worked through all the adversity and everything, and then you run out of that tunnel in Kansas City and you're active on the roster. You're going to get snaps in a NFL game. What did that feel like for you and your family, and going through the resilience to get there?
Yeah, it was an amazing feeling because there had been lots of opportunities where people in my position room had gone down and there was options to get elevated and brought up to play, and it just never panned out, whether they kept 2 tight ends and just rolled with 2, or sometimes they would even bring guys in from off the street, and it's like, what the heck? Like, why am I even here? Like, and it would be really frustrating. And so I think leading up to that moment, what had happened, it was actually crazy that there was no intention of me playing until Friday. One of my best friends and teammates, Jesper, he got hurt on a Friday practice, tore his hamstring. And then next thing you know, like I'm on the plane leaving on Saturday to go to Kansas City. And so I think I had some thoughts and feelings that week that somehow that was going to happen. Like I almost anticipated it. I didn't know how it was going to shake out, but I was kind of trusting. And then by the end of the week, I'm like, dang, it's not happening. Am I crazy for thinking and feeling this? And then all of a sudden I'm on the plane, and like that surprise really helped me to play free because there was no expectation. It's like, he got pulled up last second, had no time to really prepare, but I'd always prepared like I was going to play. And I tried to carry that mindset even after pretty much 2 full years of not seeing any active time. And then the following week is when I had hurt my hamstring in it. And it was after a play where I'd made a mistake on it. So that's kind of when that train of thought started to happen of like, there's something about playing free and in the moment and not caring about any mistakes that I've had to definitely develop and learn over the years. I tend to overanalyze and fear the failure, especially earlier in my career. And I think that had limited my chances of, really just living in the moment and being in that flow state.
That living in the moment thing's easier said than done, but we would call that win the hour, right? That's our principle of, so you have to train yourself. So are you cognizant? I mean, you would tell yourself, let it go? Or, I mean, did you have any words that you'd use, self-talk, to help yourself be more aware of the moment?
Yeah, we had a girl, her name was Dr. Nicole. She was like a mental performance coach at Utah, and I would go and listen, but like it never really clicked because I hadn't experienced it. I hadn't been in that flow state for a long time because I was so in my head. Like it's one thing to talk about it and give yourself like the cues, but like once you can experience the flow state and you start to feel it and play more in your heart and not so much in your mind, that's when I was able to kind of like have the awareness of like, okay, they're kind of like diametrically opposed in a way. So it's like, okay, I'm kind of centered right here. I want to switch that. Like, let me be cognizant and aware of that and switch it back into kind of into my heart and playing free. But that didn't happen until much later, unfortunately. It's like, even if I could never get another opportunity to play and to be in the field and to use that knowledge, at least I can carry that into my next chapter of life. Yeah. I think it's the same principle and it still holds true, whether it's playing a game of football or, you know, your day to day at whatever work or even with relationships and family.
So how do you, sorry to dominate the questions here. How did you,
No.
do you realize you're in the, how did you realize, I guess that you're in that flow state? I guess what I'm getting at is that for somebody who's not accustomed to being in it, you know, what are the signs to recognize that, okay, I'm way too in my head right now and I need to,
Yeah,
you know, I need to do something. Do you have, could you recognize, was there a couple things that would happen or you'd be like, okay, I'm way in my head right now. I need to chill out.
Yeah. And it was when I wasn't aware of it, but I'll give you some examples of things that I was thinking that maybe I'm sure most people think, especially when you're playing a game. Like, for example, I would be in the football game and it would be like third quarter and it's like I only have one catch and I'm starting to worry like, okay, like how am I going to get to my goal of 3 to 4 catches and this many yards if it's third quarter, like time's running out, and you start to get like that anxiousness. You're thinking about how many other catches the other tight ends have and you're like starting to compare and contrast. It's like, it's very it's like you're starting to play out scenarios that haven't even happened yet, as opposed to just like trusting the moment and just surrendering into what you need. And by focusing all that attention on things that you can't control, like you're limiting the energy that you have to put into the present moment. So it's like and to answer the other question, like how can you get in it? And it's like, yeah, we say all these things like be present right here, right now, but it's like, how do I direct all of my energy into right now and like give everything I have for that play? And then when it's done, and like let it go. Don't harp on it. And like you said, it's a lot easier said than done, and it comes with practice and experience. But I was very grateful to have that transition and that awareness going into that last training camp. And it was like an amazing feeling knowing that I had put everything out there and I had practiced all those things that we're talking about, and felt like at that point, the result and the objective that I had set out to, like it didn't matter because everything leading up to that moment was exactly what it needed to be.
Yeah.
Have you learned things about doing that? Like, boy, I watch kids. It's very apparent in young athletes, you know, when someone gets in their head, maybe even more than someone like you who has these just super great physical attributes. Sometimes a high school football player or basketball player, you can almost sit in the stands and see that kid is in their head. As you fought that battle yourself, what have you learned that allows you to wipe that last play clean and just put all of your energy to the next play? Because there might be some skills associated with that or things that have helped you to be able to do that I don't think anyone wants to be in their head, but sometimes we end up there. Have you learned some things that have helped you?
I mean, I'll say it again, that book, that Inner Excellence book, like every young athlete should read it. Whether it resonates or doesn't, like at least give it a try. Because for me, that was like a paradigm shifting perception change completely. I think that there are certain kids that innately are just quick to forget mistakes. I admire my little brother Crew. He's in high school. He's a junior, going to be a senior. He plays hoops. And it's amazing to see, you know, even after a couple missed shots, like he doesn't waver. It's like the next one's going in. It doesn't matter. Where I was at that age, for sure, more like, oh, I'm going to shrink a little bit, kind of tuck in the shell. I don't want to make another mistake or hurt the team. But it's like in his reality, like the next shot is the best shot for the team because the next one's going in. It's like, I think innately some people just kind of have it, but I think it can be learned at the same time. Because I was definitely one to kind of shy away, or, fear would creep in pretty early. And I think it can be practiced and learned for sure. And I think we all experience that to some degree. I think some people just are more quick to forget than others, which is a blessing for sure.
Yeah, and in my experience, Dustin, some coaches are better at fostering that atmosphere of, we know we're going to make mistakes, move on. And other coaches, you and I have played for a variety of coaches, if we could, but some instill, maybe even accidentally, or parents could do this, a fear of making a mistake in their athletes. And they think that fear is my players are going to be so afraid of making a mistake that they're going to end up playing really good. And my experience playing for a variety of different coaches is, when you instill that fear of making a mistake, what you've done is you've actually limited, especially some of the athletes. We all have different personalities, but fear limits. And I think great leaders, team captains, coaches, they understand we're all playing a hard game, and the opponent's trying really hard to make you make mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen. And the more we accept that and then strive for excellence and put our energy toward the things within our control, which is the next play. We can't control the last play, so putting energy there isn't good. Coaches who foster the very thing you're talking about, Cole, they seem to have more success than those who lead with fear, has been my experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I played, like you said, for a variety of different coaches, and it's like, I would say the majority of coaches that I've played for have been more fear-based, and my personality had not been conducive to perform well with that kind of coaching. And it took a lot of work and kind of self-realization I realized that, even though the methodology was different, like, it was making me a better player a lot of times. If you could get over the fact that, oh, he's yelling at me, or, this doesn't feel good. It's like, just get out of your feelings and realize, or I guess you want to, I don't know. It's hard. It's a hard question. It's like,
you want to focus on what the coach is saying and not in the way that he's saying it sometimes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's almost like they're testing you, right? It's like, I think that on the other side of a lot of that adversity, there could be good, but I think that the methodology of, do I want to be feared or loved, or be conducive to people playing in their heart versus in their head? Like, I think, obviously being in your heart and being free, that's conducive to the best results. But, some athletes are able to do it regardless of the pressure and regardless of that, that kind of mental game that's going on between coach and player. And I think that's what makes them so great, is that they were able to get there without the coach that is fostering that. I don't know. That's a balance, that in a dance that, you can observe, and it's really awesome to see successes on both sides. But if I ever had the opportunity to coach, I would definitely choose the side of, not being feared, and trying to foster an environment where people feel free to make mistakes and play loose and play fun.
Yeah. It's hard as a coach. I can tell you, having been a coach for a lot of years, is that it is a very fine line there, where as a coach, you do have to critique and you do have to point out where things are done wrong. And if taken the wrong way, it can be he's negative. He only points out the negative. He tells me what I do wrong all the time. And that's all I think about, is that I'm going to make a mistake and he's going to get, but yes, like, the coach has to do that. But I think just like the player learns how to manage themselves better, I think coaches learn how to manage themselves better too. You learn that the way you say something, or the tone that you say something, or instead of saying don't do this, you say do this, right?
Yeah.
Instead of saying, don't take your eyes off the ball, you say look it in, right? So it's to teach them what to do so that it's more of an encouragement of, I know you can make this play, do this, and it'll probably be easier for you, rather than, I know you can make this play, so stop doing that, right? But that comes from kind of trial and error sometimes too, unfortunately, for coaches. But at the end of the day, I think what you said earlier, and you commented on it, that book, we would call that Eyes Up, Do the Work. We would say that Eyes Up is, and if you're listening to this and you have a son or a daughter that's needs to learn about how to get out of their head and be more present, okay, Eyes Up is, Cole just gave you something that you could do, something that helped him. You're now aware that there's a book out there that could help. Now, the next thing is, are you going to do something with it? Are you going to get the book and read it? Or, and that's where I think we go looking for answers a lot to things. And we like the answer as long as it doesn't require us to have to go do anything,
Yeah.
Then it's like, just take a pill, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. A change. Yeah. Change a habit, change a way of lifestyle. And it doesn't work that way. So, I would love to be better at being in the moment, not being in my head. Even now, I mean, I tell quarterbacks I train all the time, one play and clear, play the next play, move on. You can't play backwards. You can't, you don't drive your car forward looking through the rearview mirror. You'll run right into a wall. So you got to look forward. Too many of us live backwards. We're rehashing yesterday's negativity and wondering why today sucks. Well,
yeah,
it's because we're living backwards. And so, but at the same time, it's hard to do. And how do we learn to do it? Well, you have to break the habit, and day by day, one time at one event at a time. And Cole, I think and we hope you're still playing, man. I hope I watched you run routes there when I was working with you and Jaron, and you definitely still have. I mean, it was amazing watching you run at your height and size, just how smooth you run, how smooth you catch the ball. You looked great. Like I know you just need to get the right eyes on you, and you'll be playing again. So, we'll be pulling for you for sure. But your story of, I can't imagine. I mean, I guess I kind of can, because it happened to me. It just didn't happen in professional sports, but it did sort of happen, and to Shad in college a little bit, is to have it all of a sudden, just like that, some freakish injury happens and you're like, wait a minute, that might be it. Like 10 minutes ago, it was great. I was rocking and rolling, and now like, wait, what? So like, for you to continue to push through, Cole, it's been fun to watch you, and hopefully you still got some more. But if you don't, I know that you're going to take those experiences with you and move into the next facet of life. And that's the thing that I would tell any athlete, is that when the spotlight turns off and people are no longer cheering for you to play and paying to come watch you play, you think it's the end of the world, but you'll find out quickly if you'll turn the page and really will move on to the next thing, and not, again, live backwards. Move on. That page is over in your life. That you'll find that life continues to get better. Like, it's not, it won't be the highlight of your life. You'll have other things.
For sure. Thank you. That's great advice too.
Cole, or Shad, do you have any parting words to wrap things up?
No, I just love every time we interview someone who's had the experiences like someone like you, Cole. There always seems to be little gems that come from athletes' experiences, and we feel like the life lessons that people learn from sports are really the most valuable things from sports. And so I love that idea of really not living with our heart, not up in our head. I think it applies to so many things. One of the best bits of parenting advice I ever got was from someone I respected a lot. And they said, don't be a fear-based parent. And they meant two things by that. Like, don't make your kids so afraid of making a mistake that they're afraid to talk to you. That was the first one, because they're going to make mistakes. You'd rather them talk with you through those. But then the other thing is that a lot of our reactions as parents, when we fly off the handle or do something, it actually comes from a place of fear. And as I was just thinking of your own experience, Cole, and what you've learned in your sports journey, I was reminded of that when we live our life we often say, Dustin, don't let hate be your fuel to compete and to do what you do. Let love be your fuel. I think we could add to that from this conversation that don't let fear be your fuel, fear of making a mistake. Like, what about love being your fuel there as well, instead of fear? And when we're our actions are motivated by fear, it feels constraining and we end up blowing up and doing things that we wouldn't do otherwise. When our actions come from a place of love, it seems that very few things happen that we regret.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so including, like you said, Cole, going to New England and being able to feel like, hey, this might not work out, but I left it all out there. I have no regrets. I just feel like whether it's parenting or work or whatever it might be, when we go from a place of like active, passionate, focused, intense love, not just, I just love everything. I'm not talking about that, but just when love is our motivator, then it's just so much better than fear.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm leaving with, Dustin.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Cole, you got any final words you want to share with any parent of an athlete that might be listening, something, piece of advice or anything you'd share with them?
No, I think we said it all. Thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to share some of those experiences. I've shared it with close friends and family, but never on a space like this. So hopefully somebody can, like you said, take it and learn from it and maybe gain something from my experience and what I've learned through, the ups and downs of sports. Like we said, be more in your heart, more centered, more present, and less worried about future or past. And I hope everyone has great success and get exactly what they need from their experience in sports. It's so unique and individualized, but it's amazing too that it's in a team setting where you're working together with people. And I'm really impressed with what you guys are doing to help the next generation out in their day-to-day experience. So thank you guys for doing what you do.
I'll end on this, Cole, because what you just said reminded me of something that kind of summarizes, I think, what ended up being the main subject here, main point of this. I read just the other day something along the lines of, if we're going to overthink the worst case scenario, then why can't we overthink the best case scenario as well? Right? We focus so much on what could go wrong and we overthink that. Well, that means we have the ability. So why don't we overthink what could go right? Like, let's think about the positive and the good that can happen instead of always, focusing on the bad. In other words, fear, which locks us up.
Yeah.
Think of the best case scenario too. So, right. In your case, Cole, you might not be playing in a year from now, but you might be in a Super Bowl. So, right. Might as well be that way. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, brother. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks for joining me, Especially for Athletes podcast. Keep your eyes up. Do the work.
Thank you for joining the Especially for Athletes podcast. To learn more about Especially for Athletes organization, get a copy of our book, The Sportlight, or to bring our program to your team, school, business, or organization, visit us at especiallyforathletes.org.